Education Station, by the way, is a conversation about the way we are training the trainers, about the way we are training the next generation of drivers, about all the stuff that's making a difference out there on the highways and byways. And we continue our conversation with new friends and old. Steve Barry and John Zeigenfuse join us this morning. I want you guys, by the way, to head over to Carroll, lcc.edu. That's CARROL. lcc.edu to find out about this wonderful driver CDL certificate. Good morning to you, Steve. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning. Steve Barry here. How are you?
I'm fine, Steve. Welcome to Education Station. Welcome to the new platform. It's kind of like the Wild West over here. We're kind of making things up as we go along. So you kind of have to be patient with us, but we're having a really great time over here in the middle of the Crescent City. Hey, Steve, how are you? And John, how you doing?
Good. I'm doing well. Thanks for having us back.
Okay. So, Steve, we're going to begin with you, and let's kind of talk about the program. First of all, let's talk about what people are going to find when they head over to Carroll, lcc.edu.
Sure. So our specific program, we've designed it to remove barriers from students. That's one of the things that we find that our students have is a lot of barriers to getting the short-term credentialing. So one of the things that we've done here at Carroll is we applied for some grants that allow us to not only cover the cost of a tuition for our students, which is pretty expensive when you consider the cost of trucks and diesel fuel and things like that. So our students have the ability to take our CDL class at no cost to them. But we also understand that when students are in our program, they don't have the ability to work because our program is full-time for a little over 2 months during the day. So to offset the cost of not being able to work full-time or transportation or for childcare, we offer a $2,000 stipend to help offset those costs as well. Additionally to that, for more barrier removal, we have in our program an integrated education model. So if a student wants to take our program and is not completely fluent in English, we have the ability to hire a mentor that can speak their language, and they take the class with the student and meet with them on a weekly basis to kind of mentor them to make sure they understand the curriculum that's been provided. New to our program is we are partnering with the Carroll County State's Attorney's Office, Carroll County Sheriff's Office, and numerous other agencies in the county where we are offering our program at no cost to those who have been previously involved in the justice system. So these folks are eager. They want to work. They want to be employed. So we have the opportunity to provide that in conjunction with the legal system here in Carroll County. And then last but not least, the last barrier is actually taking the exam to earn your CDLA licensure endorsement, and we do that on site here at the college. So the last week of class, the last couple of days of class, we have an approved instructor that comes on site, takes the students out on an approved route by the Maryland Department of Vehicles, and they leave here with their CDLA endorsement.
It's interesting, too, by the way, because one of the things about the new platform that we're on, a lot of our listeners who don't get a chance to call often will participate on the chat, and we were talking about today being the day that the English language proficiency kicks in. What is interesting about this, John, about what is happening here with you guys is there are a few programs that really offer what I would call a genuine college trade school experience when it comes to earning your CDL. This is one of them. Carroll over in Maryland actually rises to that occasion. But the reason that a lot of these programs don't do what you guys do is exactly what Steve just outlined. We're talking about making some real demands on the time of the human beings who are doing it. If, in fact, you want to learn the equivalent of theory in the trucking world, you got to be in a classroom at some point. I mean, classroom, hitting the road, all of that kind of stuff. That's 8 weeks we're talking about here. Can you talk a little bit about what an onboarding student, what somebody coming in can expect when they hit the when the asphalt, actually starts getting rolled on? What does this program look like for the incoming student?
Good question. Steve and I are going to tag team this one, but there's significant classroom time that happens, and I know this for a fact because their classroom is right next to my office. So I get to hear the practice that happens, the information that's shared with them in the class. And the great thing about some of our instructors is they have real road experience. They're great. So not only do they act as instructors, they're able to act as mentors as well and talk to them about what future education looks like and future job vocation, upward mobility, even in the CDL world. And so they have real job applications. So it's wonderful in that, but it's classroom instruction. Then, of course, it's homework and reading material that they have to come prepared for. And then, of course, with anything that is part of their trades, there's real hands-on experience. And we don't have the high-end simulators that some places have. But what the instructors do is they bring certain material in to really help them understand the jake brake, the gear ratios, all those things, and then get them out, and then they're practicing in the cab of the vehicle. So I don't know if, Steve, you wanted to add anything to that?
Yes, this is Steve. I would say the class is kind of broken up into three different sections. The first section is purely classroom, as John mentioned. In that class, they are actually preparing to earn their CDL learner's permit. Then once they have that, they have the abilities to then get into our fleet. Once they have their CDL learner's permit, then they go out to our range. We have a range on campus in our parking lot. And they do a lot of the pre-inspections, and they start learning how to back the trucks up certain ways, and then after that they go on the road right here in Carroll County. So it's kind of broken up into three sections, and it moves at a pretty fast pace. We also try to keep our classes small. That way our instructors have one-on-one time with the students. So we typically try to keep our class size at around 8 to 10 students. That way we have the ability to have that mentorship opportunity with the students as well.
And that's the thing too. Like I said, there are so many programs that we've had on this particular segment, and we're very proud of the fact that we've spoken to over 100 different programs. This is one of the ones that is the most interesting to me because a lot of them offer bits and pieces of what you talk about and do a very good job of getting people ready to take the next step. This is as close to a comprehensive program as exists in the country, meaning like the idea that if there was an equivalency to a college education for truck drivers, this one is the beginning of actually kind of exploring what all that looks like, with the understanding that there's going to have to be some kind of, supplement to go along with it because, we're talking about full-time student. You are actually asking for a commitment at that particular kind of level. And I brought up the English proficiency situation earlier because one of the people commenting online said the issue wasn't so much the lack of proficiency with English, it was the training. And one of the things that you brought up was the idea of having a mentor, a tutor, a translator with them. What kind of return on investment are you seeing there? And either one of you guys can make the call about how to answer this, but in regards to the ability of people to kind of accelerate their proficiency, and is it encouraging people who might have some difficulty with English, and even those who actually speak English who have difficulty with English, and I'm not being glib, to actually up their game? What kind of results are you seeing in regards to the return of the student being more fluent in the linguistics of trucking by the time they're done with the program? Did that make any sense?
It does. And this is John answering the question. So two things is trying to really educate the students. We have adult ed that kind of like ESOL, English as a second language, that they can take supplementary to that so they become more and more equipped. And as a college, as a program, we have all these resources to help people that have English as a second language learn to be more proficient. But another program that's really innovative, what we've done here is working with Carroll County government and a couple other state agencies, is using technology to bridge the language barrier. Just like in the old days, we were using maps to navigate roadways. Now nobody uses a map. They now use technology as a GPS. And so we do the same thing. Rather than trying to spend so significant time in a classroom to learn the language, we have technology as a tool that really helps us to communicate clearly with the students. And so we're using that and incorporating that in some of our programs as well.
Steve, did you want to kind of jump in on here, or shall we shift gears once again?
No, I think John covered it well. Um, our adult education program provides free English classes at all levels, beginning, intermediate, or advanced. So those are all also offered for free. So our students have the ability to not only take the CDL program, but if they really want to get beyond conversational English, they can get more comprehensive education through our adult education program as well.
And I was kind of curious to kind of shift over to trainers because you talk about the idea of having mentors, having people there. One of the things that I've always been really fascinated by is a lot of programs are beginning to figure out ways of matching students up with people that seem to kind of speak to their weaknesses or their strengths to kind of be like, well, this guy communicates better with this kind of student, this woman communicates better with these kind of people. So how do we kind of get them kind of paired up? When you guys go looking for a trainer, Steve, what are you looking for? What do you look for in regards to the kind of people you want in the classroom and on the roadway with these folks?
So we're definitely looking for somebody who has patience, right? A lot of the students come in, they have barriers to their learning, different learning styles, different ways they retain information. So definitely looking for somebody that has the patience and the wherewithal to work with a younger generation of student, which we're starting to see much more of. But not only that, but having the ability to convey to the younger folks that it takes more to get behind the wheel and drive a truck, but you also have to have those soft skills, right? So you have to be professional. You're working with customers for the organization you're working for. You're always interacting with somebody from the public, so it's more somebody that not only can bring to the classroom the ability to teach somebody to drive an 18-wheel truck, but also having the ability to work with that young student or twilight student, as we put it, that are starting a second career, and giving them those soft skills they need to be a professional in the workplace. Because that's one of the things that we're finding across all sectors, whether it be trade, transportation, healthcare, IT, is the soft skills is the one thing that seems to be lacking as people come to our short-term credentialing programs.
Yeah, and the thing is the soft.
Yeah, and Jimmy, if I could add something to that.
Please, John.
Yeah, as we are in the academic world, education, and real education starts with understanding the needs and the desires of the learner first before the content. And so our instructors do a great job. So we know that there's auditory learners, visual learners, kinesthetic learners out there, and our curriculum is written in such a way that it encompasses all those learning styles and also mixing it up between didactic teaching to playing a video to having somebody online to going out on the course. I mean, it mixes and matches all those so that no student really kind of, quote unquote, falls into the gaps or the cracks. Is that they do a great job because education is what we do here. And then the idea of this vocational education is part of what we do.
Well, and that's an interesting way of kind of reminding the listeners out there, many of whom often say to themselves, well, at some point I'd like to be a trainer. The true methodology, and by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but the true methodology says, okay, I have this important piece of content to communicate. I can't just write a lesson plan for visual learners, or I can't just write a lesson plan for audio learners or kinesthetic learners. What I have to do is I have to write a lesson plan and then under that have the bullet points of how I communicate this one way, how I communicate it the second, and how I communicate it the third, and then make it all seem like a seamless garment in the classroom. So that, and at the same time, you may realize, wait a second, for the first time in a long time, I've got nothing but a class of audio learners, so I can shift a little bit here, but it's about the kind of teachers it seems to me that you guys are looking for, given the comprehensiveness of the program, are people who are also willing to learn. And I just wanted to kind of ask a side question here, which is, do you provide opportunities for the people who are teaching? Okay, let's say that I come in there and I am a very, very good instructor in regards to curriculum planning, methodology, and have a great deal of patience. And I come to you and I say, look, it's really important for me to get Spanish down because a number of students are coming in here, I notice, who are okay with English but better in Spanish, and I want to be able to work with them. Do you provide opportunities for the trainers to further their education as they're getting more in depth into your program and working for you guys? Once again, we'll start with John and then shift over to Steve.
Yes, we do. We have all kinds of programs available. And so if an instructor comes with us and saying, I have this need, is there any way that college can invest in me so I can be better at my craft? Yes, the answer is yes. So there is continuing education for all of our instructors, whether you're math or science, history, and even CDL. There's an opportunity for them to continue their education so they become better at their craft. Because we measure success by the impact we have, not by necessarily how many people come. And so when we're better impacting the students and impacting our students, everybody wins.
Yeah, if I could add to that, Jimmy, Steve, one of the things that we fully recognize in short-term credentialing is we are hiring people that are proficient in the trade, but not necessarily proficient in adult learning methodologies. So all of our programs are assigned under a program manager, and that program manager serves as a mentor for the instructors. So as an example, I have a program manager who is responsible for the CDL program, amongst other programs as well. And if our instructor comes to that program manager and says, I would like additional training in X, whether it be adult learning skills, command Spanish, or things like that, we have the ability to provide resources to them through an online database where they can take online classes and becoming more proficient in the classroom. We also have some third-party agreements where we can send instructors out to take classes like Spanish for healthcare, Spanish for CDL, more conversational Spanish, and the college will pick up the tab for that class as well. So one of the like I said, one of the things we fully recognize is we hire subject matter experts, and then we work with them to become better in the classroom instructors.
And like I said, because then I've always said that if you go to a certain college, you're at a good place when you walk into a classroom and one of your professors is actually in the back of the classroom learning from another professor. That's not that by the way is not a sign of weakness. That is a sign of knowing that all great instructors really are students at heart. They are people who leave themselves open to the prospect and the possibility of learning. I also wanted to talk, as I always do when we talk to community colleges in particular, you serve communities. So can we talk a little bit about the partnerships that you guys have forged with the community to make sure that the community's needs are being met by the students that you're producing? We'll start with Steve and then we'll pivot to John.
Sure. So one of the strong relationships we have is with the Carroll County Workforce Development. And this is an agency that has the ability to work with folks that are underemployed or unemployed and help them get to a fruitful employment. So they offer, in addition to paying for training programs, they offer other resources as well. So through the Carroll County Workforce Development and with John's connection as his role as the Senior Director of Business Solutions, we are in constant contact with employers in the area that are in need of this craft. We hold in person lunch and learns with our students where we bring in companies in the Carroll County area that are hiring for CDL drivers, and they have the opportunity to come in, have lunch with our students, explain what their company does. A lot of the myths are then broken. CDL is often seen as an over-the-road type of job. And as we're seeing with our younger population taking classes, they're more entrepreneurial. They have a work-life balance, and a lot of the companies that we have here in Carroll County aren't over the road. You leave in the morning, you come home that night, and I think that really attracts the students' interest. And then after they have that time with them on that one-on-one, so to speak, for lunch, then they have the ability to go set up an interview to go in and talk with that company. So I know we have very strong ties with those partnerships. But John, we'll kick it over to John. He in his role as the senior director, he deals a lot with the individual C-suite folks in the company.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Well said. So first of all, our role in the community here and as a community college is we partner with a lot of businesses, and a lot of these businesses need drivers. we already have the relational equity built with those businesses. So when we advocate for somebody coming through our program, it does carry some significance. So we've got some national and also global companies kind of based right here in Carroll County, whether it's a large international cement company, whether it's a giant publisher that has warehouses, and we even have some food distribution places. So as Steve said, the myth of CDL is not necessarily always long-haul truckers. That is an element of what we do, but it's also people with the younger generation looking for more work-life balance, is that we need good CDL drivers to in the construction world, in the food delivery system, the restaurants, in the publishing industry. And it creates a little bit more of a, I don't want to say necessarily a 9 to 5, but maybe closer to a 40 to 45-hour work week where they can go home and not feel like they're missing out on some of the things that are important to them. And that's what we've really seen in the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha coming up. If you look at the latest Gallup poll, the biggest thing that came up in January 2025 was the state of the workforce is people want work-life balance. They don't want work to dominate their life. They want to have that balance. And I think CDL is a great way to do that, especially in the way that we're able to link students and eventually graduates with the workforce and the people. And like I said, our relational equity with those companies goes a long way as we advocate for them coming out of our program.
Steve, I have to ask you this question really quickly. So you're Dean of Workforce Innovation and Community Advancement. By the way, guys, I buried the lead about who these two gentlemen are. I dropped them into a media res sort of situation of like, we're just going to pick up where we last left off. Do you get a chance to teach anymore? I mean, because one of the things about being a dean means you often have so much administration and so much kind of PR and HR work to kind of do out there. Do you get a chance to get back into the classroom ever?
I do actually. I adjunct here at Carroll Community College, and I also adjunct at other colleges in the area. I like to keep myself in the classroom, so I'm keeping abreast of all the latest learning technologies and learning tools. So I do. That's one of the things that I try to do as much as possible is actually get into the classroom, work with students, mentor the students, and stay abreast of current trends.
Yeah, John, I asked him that question, by the way, because I kept thinking about you sitting in your office and hearing the kind of unfolding events all around you. Do you get a chance often to actually get in there and actually hear what's going on and get a firsthand knowledge of what it is the students are kind of going through in these 8 weeks?
A little bit in the classroom, I'm nosy by nature, so I go out and watch them on the course. So I actually have an expired CDL, so I'm always into it, and I love what our instructors are doing and watching them. And more of my teaching opportunity comes outside of the college, working with the businesses. So I kind of go in and meet with them at either an executive team, find out their needs, how we might be able to support them, whether it's a hard skill or a soft skill that they're learning. So once you get bit by the teaching bug, it never really leaves you as teacher. Steve and I can really admit to that we'll always be educators in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, that's the thing, too, is that it's such a system of tinkering because as people change, as new technologies kind of come on board, and as people get exposed to those new technologies, often before they even get exposed to any sort of formal education, it becomes a matter of kind of having to keep your foot in both worlds, right? That you're constantly observing the businesses around you and the new tech that they're incorporating, and then figuring out ways that you can methodology-wise onboard that into an educational environment, right?
Correct. And as John mentioned a few minutes ago, a lot of our student base is changing. We're starting to see students come out of high school. They're more interested in being opting for the non-traditional career training pathway. So think about your Gen Zs. They're kind of out of high school now, but the newest generation is the Alpha. They're sophomores or juniors now, and they are opting more and more for a non-traditional career training pathway over the traditional 4-year college route. This is highly driven by cost concerns, cost of tuition, quicker entry into the workforce, and a growing awareness of alternative for high demand careers. So as those students are coming into the classroom, we're having to understand how they learn. They're completely online. So we're having to make sure we meet their needs in the classroom, while also understanding that we also have older generations in the classroom as well, that are switching careers or have gotten laid off for some reason or another. So it's fully understanding who is in the classroom and understanding how they prefer their educational experience to be.
Unbelievably, we have rumbled, bumbled, and stumbled our way through a half an hour of content here. The Senior Director of Business Solutions at Carroll Community College, John Zeigenfuse, has joined us. And also, we're big thanks to Steve Barry, by the way, who is the Dean of Workforce Innovation and Community Advancement. I got all that right? I literally had all that stuff lined up at the top and said, I was going to jump in and have a conversation with these guys. I can't thank you enough. Steve, one more time, tell them where they can go to find out more about your program.
So you can go to Carroll's website, which is www.carroll.edu. And they can find a link right to our CDL page.
I can't thank you both enough for joining us here on Education Station on our new platform. Guys, go to radionemo.com. Check us out over there. Thank you both for making the time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it.